BC with Combustion Monkey here. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I'm here in my 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon Launch Edition. Wanted to give you a little bit of a review after 6 months of driving this guy. Definitely loving it still. You know, there's no doubt about that. But there are 3 things that I think I'd say have been a little disappointing. One of which is the Bluetooth speaker that you use for your phone. Basically, when you're talking on the phone, if you're going over 10-15 miles an hour or something like that, the other side hears just a crazy amount of wind noise, which I feel like is fairly unacceptable. That's not very fast, and when you're on the highway, it's almost unusable, you know. So if you're driving for work or doing anything like that, they need to figure this out. I don't know if all of the Jeep Gladiators have this issue. I've heard some people don't. But mine definitely does, and people are constantly complaining like, oh dude, your window's open, what's going on? So that's pretty disappointing. The other thing that affects is when you're using, you know, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. If you were to say, okay Google or hey Siri, it doesn't hear you if you're driving. So you basically have to yell in order to get it to work, and then half the time it doesn't even understand what you're saying anyways. So pretty disappointing that's the case, and hopefully they figure out a way to isolate that and make the sound a little bit better. I mean, it's unusable, and honestly, if I'm driving for a site survey or something like that for work and I expect to make calls, good luck. So what I've been finding myself doing is really, you know, taking my wife's car quite a bit, which is the Yukon. So yeah, that's bullet point number 1. Bullet point number 2 is kind of a pro and a con. So the pro is that the tonneau cover that comes with the Jeep is accessible when you don't want it to be. So I mean, if you don't have to unlock the back latch, put down the tailgate to get access to your stuff. You can basically open this little flap and then roll it up without unlocking the back. Now, to me, part of the reason I want a tonneau cover was to actually have some security if you wanted to store anything back there. It's a soft tonneau cover, so it's not going to be the most secure thing in the world. But the fact that you can literally just walk up to the MOPAR factory one and lift up to the end is a little bit weird to me. So let me show you that here. So here's what I'm talking about, and I apologize if there's a little bit of wind noise. What I'm talking about is this tonneau cover. It's a beautiful cover, I love it. But look, I mean, if you can just literally walk up to it, and boom, you have access to it. At that point, I haven't unlocked anything. I can literally just pull this, and I'm on my way. I can take whatever I want out of the back. Obviously, I have my golf clubs back there and so forth, so that's a little bit disappointing. Everything else about it is fantastic. The fact that you can open and close it that easily. Definitely really like the look of it. I mean, a lot of people complain about this little bit of cloth hanging over, but it keeps everything really dry, and it's nice. You know, it's super easy to put up, put down, anything you need to do. So again, I told you that's kind of a half and half type deal. I don't hate it, I don't love it. I definitely won't put anything valuable back there and keep it there. I'll be very aware that someone could easily just open that up and have a look at whatever they want. Number 3, you will notice I no longer have the factory antenna. This is a aftermarket antenna. I'll put a link down below in case you want one. You have to make a little bit of a modification to actually install it. You need to kind of shave off the end because it's too big to fit. So it's not a perfect fit, but it is the smallest one that I could find for this Jeep here. Now, I will tell you, the factory antenna works great, but you know, it's huge. I mean, it's probably a 3-foot antenna and it's metal, right? So when you're going through a car wash or something like that, it's constantly just slapping up against your mirror and all the paint here on your A-pillar. It happened to me once, and I was like, you know what? I don't see any damage as a result, but I definitely don't want to risk it. So I removed it and just, went ahead and ordered this thing. This thing doesn't pick up radio reception at all. It's absolute junk when it comes to actual antenna functionality, but it does protect my paint, and I don't use my antenna anyways. A couple of other minor things. Obviously, this is a Jeep, and it has 0 when it comes to aerodynamics. So I've already cracked my windshield, and I have the adaptive cruise control. So basically what they're telling me is, in order to get a windshield, I need to have a proper windshield, right, that has the hole for the adaptive cruise control camera up at the rear view mirror. So the windshield itself is like $1,200 is what they're quoting me. I found one place that'll do it for like $800, but the only downside is, once you pay for that windshield, you then have to go into Dodge to have that adaptive cruise control camera calibrated again. So I don't even know what that's going to cost. I'm probably going to end up just going through insurance and having them take care of the whole thing at a Dodge dealership. But that was a little frustrating. I have 2,700 miles on this thing. Drive it to work. I don't have a long commute or anything like that. I've done some work, carried, closet doors, some construction materials. It's a great truck. I love it. I love it. I'd love a bigger truck, obviously, because I'm a bigger guy, but it's a great truck for what it is. But that sort of annoyed me. But it's expected. You know what I mean? It's a Jeep, and it has a almost straight windshield, so anything that hits it is probably going to crack it. So that was, number 4. I would say number 5, if I had to pick a 5th, would be the fact that when you're cruising on the highway about 70 miles an hour, it just does not feel like a car, or a truck in this case, that was made for cruising the highway. 2 reasons for that. One, when you're driving, you never really find the center. You're always kind of steering back and forth. I don't know what it is about this thing. I haven't modified anything as far as suspension, tires, wheels, nothing. From the factory, it's got a very weird kind of loose steering wheel on the highway. It doesn't feel loose. I mean, if you mess with it and go back and forth, it's fully functional and fully responsive. But there's something about it. It's just off. You're always kind of swerving just a little bit. You know what I mean? Other cars, you can kind of let go of the wheel and it'll just track straight unless you're out of alignment. This thing, you can't. It just won't do it. I don't know what it is. So that's one thing about going on the highway with this truck. The other thing that, obviously it's a Jeep again, but if you're looking to have this for long distance travel or work or things like that, it's really loud. So again, I talked about the microphone and how you have all that interference, and that's annoying. But it's also just loud when you're in it. You don't feel like you're in a $60,000 vehicle. And $60,000 is a lot of money for this. I think it might be a little overpriced. But it depends on what you're using it for. If you're not going to be off-roading at all, don't waste your money on a Jeep Gladiator. Jeep Gladiator is made to obviously do everything that like a Toyota Tacoma would do or a Ford Ranger would do. But it will just go a little bit further when it comes to off-roading. With the lockers that the Rubicon has, the 4-to-1 transfer case going to make it super comfortable. A lot of other features that just make this thing the ultimate off-road toy. But I would say if you're looking just for like a work truck or something, maybe go with a Ford Ranger or a Chevy. That Bison is pretty cool for a lot less money, unless you buy a base Gladiator. In that case, not a bad idea. Go with something that's like 40, 45,000 and build it up, and by the time you're done with it, you'll probably have 60,000 into it, rather than do what I did and buy kind of the top of the line, and after you build it, you're gonna have like 80,000 into it. That's a little bit more than I really wanted to spend on this vehicle. But again, it's a Jeep. I knew what I was buying. It's not like I'm surprised. I just want to give you an honest review after owning it for 6 months. with that being said, would I still buy it? 100%. I would buy it again. I've taken it off-road a couple of times, had some fun with it, and it really does handle well. It does need to be lifted. It does need bigger wheels and tires. You're not going to take this thing through anything really challenging without modification. I would say if you're new to off-roading and you kind of do dirt trails and some very small rocks, very basic trails, you can get through it no problem with this thing from factory. When you're looking to get over terrain that requires some clearance underneath the vehicle, this isn't going to be your best bet. Like I said, you're going to need to have some sort of a modification, whether it's a lift, whether it's bigger tires. I think the ideal situation would be like a 4-inch lift with 37-inch tires. That'd give you a pretty good amount of clearance. Probably something similar to like a JK Unlimited that has, you know, the standard 3-inch lift with 35-inch tires. Not the same. You'll probably get through more with that JKU or the JLU. But it'll give you a comparable experience to where you can get through some fun stuff, really get out to where people can't get to. This thing as is, probably not going to cut it for what I want to do. I think I'm probably going to end up using my ZJ a lot more for the off-roading. I just don't know that I want to build this thing that much, you know, to put all that money into it and take something that's the launch edition that's probably worth more all original. You know, when I could have probably just bought like a $40,000 base model, built it up and had more fun with it, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to knock the launch edition. I think it's a fantastic vehicle. I think it really brings a lot of technology and a lot of function into the standard Jeep Gladiator, but I think it could have hit the mark a little bit more on some of that technology and the drive. You know, when you're on the highway doing 70, I really feel like they could have worked on something to make it a little bit more quiet, to make it more comfortable. I don't want to take this on long trips. I don't want to take this even on work trips. I always take my wife's Yukon. It's just not that comfortable. You know what I mean? Just kind of going off here on a tangent, explaining my experiences, kind of going through each and everything that I feel could be better. One last thing, now that I'm looking down here, is the temperature control in this thing is pretty terrible. I have it set to 64 degrees every time I get in here, and it still doesn't feel that cold, which is weird to me. All my other vehicles, it was always 69, 70, somewhere in that range, and it would be a nice air conditioning feel when you're starting off, and then it would keep you nice and cool. I don't know what it is about this thing. It just always stays, I mean, unless you go all the way to low, which is like 60 degrees, then it starts to pump the AC. But it just feels like you have to go down a lot more to get it to where you need to. So I'm not sure. But hey, that's a lot of complaining for a vehicle that I really love. And I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because it's a you know, off-road vehicle, really. So I get it. You know, don't sit there and comment and be like, oh, well, you're the idiot that spent all that money on a Jeep. I get it. I know what I did. I'm just giving you the understanding. If you're looking to spend $60,000, if you don't understand these things, you could be in for a world of surprise. And, you know, the test drive that you take, you may not take it on the highway, so you may not hear that. You may buy this thing and then jump on the highway. You know, you may test drive it around town, jump on the highway after you buy it and be like, holy cow, this is a lot louder than I thought. So that's one warning. And then the other things are minor, very minor. But they're things that should be mentioned, you know what I mean? And there are other things. There are other things, for sure. But there are also a lot of things that I love about it. I really think that they did a good job in making this thing truly ready for off-road and giving you the auxiliary switches that you can tie right into. Off-Road Plus is pretty darn cool. The way this thing handles and maintains speed off-road and gets anywhere that's not, you know, too crazy for terrain. It's awesome. The thing looks amazing. When you build them, they look probably more aggressive than any other truck I've seen. It's an awesome, it's an awesome truck. But yeah, just wanted to share some experience with you. It's been 6 months, only just under 3,000 miles, and that's my current feeling as to how this truck feels. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it helps. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.